and welcome back to today's Let's Play video. After a long break, which I apologise for, we're finally back in Reforj. And today we're going to discuss the two updates that have been put in place since I last recorded. We're going to start first off with Reforj Title Update 3. Updated on the 31st of the 7th, some of the improvements and fixes outlined in this update. There's a new toggle sprint when flying vertically in creative mode. This allows us to fly faster and quicker just by pressing down the analog stick. It also updated the tutorial text to include the aura campfire, which is very useful for new beginners. The camera now moves at the same speed in both first and third person, which is great when travelling around so you don't get motion sickness. All the UI sliders now play sound effects when adjusted. When fast flying backwards, players will now move in the opposite direction of where they are looking. The world loop boundary is where the world ends and begins again. Players can no longer interact with aura campfires multiple times while standing on the other side. Breaking an active campfire placed on the other side of the world loop boundary will no longer keep the effects and spawn point. They also fixed the spawning issue when players placed an aura torch on an element just below the water surface where mobs would then spawn on the element. Correct visual effects now plays when breaking an element while aiming at its corner. Elements can now be placed on the edges that are partly submerged in water, which is wonderful news if you're building a boat. When strafing, the column mining tool now matches the player's direction rather than moving diagonally upwards, which is going to make building and destroying a lot quicker. Players should no longer spawn inside elements when entering new worlds. Players no longer spawn in the air when entering a new world. They've also corrected the mining direction when using the column mining tool on elements that have an unsculpted element like lava below or above the element you are highlighting. The column mining tool no longer tries to mine bedrock in survival mode. Column mining, while moving forwards, no longer destroys unsculptable elements below the element you are highlighting. Setting the time of day to 5 when cycle time of day is displayed no longer causes tunnel scouts sound effect to repeat. Numbers no longer flicker when splitting a stack in the inventory. Recipe icons no longer flash when creating items that share the same ingredients. Scrolling left and right in the hotbar at the same time no longer causes flickering. The elements highlighted no longer flickers when crossing the world loop boundary, and they've fixed the sound effects when players begin swimming, which are quite minor things in the running of the game, but just tidies everything up a bit and definitely makes it more polished. Now, the one I'm most excited for, and I'm hoping not just to read in parrot fashion like Update 3, is Title Update 4. As I'm sure whoever is up to date on Reforj knows, they've made everything look just a little bit different in the new worlds. One of the major things that they've changed in terms of design of a new world is that the leaves are now transparent on top of trees. I'm also hoping to redo the tutorial mode, as there's been a lot of new blocks provided with this new update. Reforj themselves have described Title Update 4 on the 27th of August 2025 as the first major update for Reforj in survival mode, adding crafting, cooking and upgrading your mining bracer, which are all quite cool things to explore. So there's some new plants listed. Ember stem, which drops ember leaves. Forever Figri, a new type of grass that drops grain when harvested. And a cold bloom, a desert plant that drops edible fruits when broken, which are all quite useful plants and allows us to eat more than just mushrooms and Kirby meat and save a few of our friends for later. New items include a boom block, which is a craftable explosive, a canister used to pick up and place water, a sprig type dropped by boom shrooms when they are killed by a player, tunneler scale, which tunneler scouts now drop when they die. Ember leaf used to ignite a few things. Charcoal, crafted by burning wood and timber. There's also some new stations in Title 4 which I'm really looking forward to exploring. This includes a workbench, which is a station for making a number of useful items. A kiln uses charcoal and fuel, used to process ores and several other materials. I'm hoping at a kiln with ores to make like compost and things. Campfire, which is a simple rustic method of cooking, lit with an ember leaf. Also, something I find quite intriguing is that there's an upgradable mining bracer. The mining bracer can now be upgraded to levels 2 and 3, and players can do this in upgradable tabs on the workbench. All elements now require a specific bracer level to be successfully collected. Mining stone at level 1 will break the element, but you will not drop any collectible until mine bracer level 2, which is pretty self-explanatory. Kind of like the equivalent between stone and iron in Minecraft. And you can now view your required bracer level to successfully mine an element by scanning it. So upgrading your bracer will increase the mining speed and unlock some new crafting recipes, which is quite intriguing. And players can now keep track of the brace level by looking at the 3 dots added in the HUD and displayed beside the health bar. Each filled dot represents a brace level. New mobs! These are quite interesting. The Boom Shroom is a hostile cave-dwelling mob that mimics mushrooms. And the Salaffic is a hostile mob that lurks on the roof caves. So no longer mining becomes safe because tunnel scouts don't go in the caves, or used to not go in the caves, and now we've got quite a few issues when we go down there. I wonder if they're still on the same spawning cycle as everything else, or whether they'll spawn day or night. New sculpting tools include a row mining tool. This is to mine 3 elements horizontally instead of what's previously being used, which is a vertical tool. And a cylinder tool, this is quite useful. You can make tree stumps and things, that'd be quite useful. A lot of furniture can be made that way. New food as well includes bread and restores quite a bit of health, to be fair. Goes 10 health, that's not bad at all. And pickle bloom fruit, harvested from the pickle bloom, restores 10 health as well. Finally, new storage items. Or a storage container, that must be quite volatile, must require quite a few materials to keep that volatile substance under wraps. An iron storage crate, I wonder what that's used to store, and a storage crate just in general, which is quite useful because if anybody's seen my survival series, I've got a lot of blocks on the outside of a house and not a lot of places to put them. New furniture, oh wonderful, I was talking about furniture a moment ago. So we got lanterns, quite cool. A marble stool, a wooden stool, and a table. Okay, new elements. This includes a glided brick, an ironclad brick, a refined glass, noble glass, fired clay, redstone brick, slate tiles, and limestone. Pretty cool. Cosmetic entities. That's quite a posh way of putting things. We've now got bats. That's a night sky instead of regals. About time the regals went to bed. Improvements and new features. Wonderful. So players now view if their world was created in survival or in creative mode, so no cheaters allowed. The information can be found in the load menu or at the top of the screen in game. When players tries to switch game modes from survival to creative for the first time, a pop-up will appear warning them that the save will be marked as creative mode from now on. And that screws up anybody who's spawning blocks in to pretend they're doing a proper survival. Tree leaves are now transparent, which is a fact I told you about earlier, which I'm really excited to see now because they look pretty fantastic. But unfortunately they don't apply to existing one, which is why I thought loading up a new world today would be a great idea. Players can now continuously eat a stack of food by holding down the left trigger on the controller. Quite useful, my hands were getting quite tired. A scan prompt now appears when pointing crosshair at the element that hasn't been scanned before. This feature can be turned off by disabling hints. Add a progress bar that displays around the crosshair when mining an element. Makes it useful to know that you're not just going to be stood there for 3 hours trying to mine an obsidian when you've not got the right tools. Right. The element highlights when using sculpting tools has a new visual design. Sounds cool. Our tutorial messages have been reset and new messages have been added for the new stations and features. This is why I want to do another tutorial video, because apparently everything's changed. Change the entire world seed to ensure that players start in a location where more resources are nearby. Wonderful, because it took me like an hour last time to do the tutorial world, and yeah, we spent a while climbing the mountain. New descriptions for cooked food now display how much health they can restore. Improvements to crafting UI to clearly show which recipes can be crafted and which ingredients are missing when a recipe can't be crafted, which is just useful to know for your shopping list when you're exploring the world. Recipes that have ingredient variations, e.g. timber, will now automatically cycle through the variants if players does not have any of the required ingredients. The Craft 10 tooltip now displays craft all when it is only possible to craft less than 10 of a recipe. Wonderful, that creates less confusion. Aura now appears in the ingredients section of recipes. Players can now place plants and aura torches on an element they're standing on, which is quite useful. New elements, recipes and scan text descriptions have now been updated. The following elements have had their textures updated, so that's noble glass ore and iridium. The following materials and decorations now emit particles. This is lava, iridium crystals, aura berry bush and aura torch. Seabed seagrass fin has now been removed from the game. All players place seabed grass fin element in existing worlds have been replaced with slate tiles. All generated elements have been replaced by pebbled sand. Changed the names of the following elements. Seabed abyssal plain is now rocky sand. Seabed coral is now just coral. Seabed fossil rock is now algae rock. Seabed rocky is now algae sand. Seabed seagrass is now petaled sand. Seabed trench rock is now flagstone. Seabed mega rock is now just mega. Red brick is now clay brick. Raw meat is called raw Kirby meat. Cooked meat is now called cooked Kirby meat. I'm assuming that's because they're going to add more mobs in the future and we're going to have other animals that we can harvest resources from. The time of day slider now wraps both left and right. The minimap no longer has fog, which is useful to be able to see everything. Is now higher resolution again, and great for being able to see stuff, especially if you need glasses. The minimap rotation can now be toggled on and off in the gameplay settings menu. Toggling off will lock the minimap to face north. Deploying the ring suit is now faster and more responsive, which is just useful when you're about to jump your way off a cliff. Added new animations for fast flying in creative mode and improved underground lighting to make caves more atmospheric, which is pretty cool. So gold ore can now be found around the mouths of rivers. Added clay to world generation. It can be found in the upper layers of the world terrain. B tooltip for opening the tool selector menu has now been moved beside the current selected tool on the HUD. All sculpting tool icons now use the same colour. Removing the delay when pressing B to open tool selector menu when you don't have sculpting tool selected. Wonderful, that just makes things a bit quicker for building. Kirby's now take damage over time when in water and will attempt to get back onto land. That's useful. The insta-kill on water was brutal, especially if you chase them in there. Kirby's now only spawn during the day. Tunnel scouts now emerge from the ground when they spawn and will burrow into the ground when they despawn. It's pretty cool. I wonder where they go when they burrow underneath. Adjusting vein sizes for noble glass ore, iridium and gold ore. Adjusted the frequency of how often ore spawns for all ores, useful. I think the first one was making it bigger, which is great because we never have enough resources. Increased range of the Bracer blast from 3 meters to 4 meters. That'll probably be useful for the new enemies underground. The aura berries now restore 1 health when eaten, in addition to 2 aura. Kirby's now drop 1 to 2 raw Kirby meat, increased from 1 Kirby meat. Aura crystals now drop 10 aura when mined, instead of between 1 and 3 auras. That's a lot better. That makes it easier to gather resources again. Remove timber from the aura campfire recipes and increase the required number of sticks to craft it from 3 to 4. Makes sense. Leaves now drop 100% of the time when broken with the mining bracer. Useful. Lava elements now play ambient sound effects. The aura campfire now emits light when looping sound effects. Tapping B to reset the tool selector now plays a sound effect. Reduce the amount of light cast by glowing mushrooms, aura berry bushes, iridium and iridium crystals. That's not really good. I do require that light quite a bit, but hopefully with the more things that are being able to be mined quicker, and that will still be improved. A warning message will now pop up if a player places a maximum number of decoration elements in a 16x16 chunk. The screenshot displayed when saving the world has been added beside each save in the load menu. Brilliant. The health bar now flashes and it's coloured red when you go below a third of your full health. An animation now plays when picking up, adding an item to your toolbar. Transparent materials are now transparent in all UIs. All element icons have consistent lighting viewed in the UI. Improves the hitboxes for most plants so that they can interact with the elements behind or below them. Other fixes include the camera mode now presets between reloads. The camera now shakes consistently when the player takes damage. The dying in water, the swimming animation no longer continues if in first person. Decoration elements no longer vanish when hundreds have been placed in the same area. Tunnel scouts now detect sculpted elements when preparing to attack. Tunnel scouts will no longer randomly daze themselves during attacks. That's not very helpful. I rely that a lot. Standing on the top of the burrowing tunnel scout will no longer cause it to emerge days. Tunnel scouts will attack players on ice elements. Kirby's will no longer flock in large numbers to the same location if the game has been running for a long period of time. So no more farming meat from Kirby's. The minimap now reflects all changes in the world correctly. Mobs no longer flicker when crossing the world loop boundary. The swim animation now plays relevant to the swimming speed. Fix the issue where Kirby's will continue to walk in a straight line after fleeing until they would drown or become stuck. Fix an issue where they turn on the spot animation or a player would not play if the left stick was pushed slightly. Opening the player's inventory while moving no longer causes 2 highlights to be displayed. Collectibles will no longer follow the player if they have picked up any while they die. And the last 2 things on this list for Tile Update 4 are that when picking up a collectible stack, only the items that will fit in your inventory will be collected. And tutorial timers will not continue running nor be triggered when the game is paused, which are all great additions to a game that is already shaping up to be something spectacular. Now, I'm sorry this video has been such a parrot fashion list of patch notes, but I had no other way of relaying this information to you easily enough to be digestible. So I hope you enjoyed the recap of Title Update 3, which was released on the 30th of July 2025, and Title Update 4, released on 27th of August 2025. And I hope you continue our adventures in Reforj as we start to explore the new title update. So thank you for joining me in today's adventures in Reforj, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!